Hello and welcome to the Futures Lab. So last week we did some complicated maths, but now we have a system which can make cards in a number of rows and columns. That's pretty adaptive, and we'll arrange them on our screen nice and evenly. And this week we get to reap the rewards for that system that we made. We are going to make a game start screen, a main menu where you choose your difficulty, and it will load a different number of rows and columns and suits and hearts depending on what difficulty you chose. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start off by making a new sprite and drawing some difficulty options. So go to the bottom right corner, hover over where it says choose a sprite, that little cat face, move up 2 and click on paint. So I'm just going to use a big square tool, and I'm going to make sure that there's a nice outline. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this particular shader just here underneath. I'm going to make this first option easy, so I'm going to make it dark green. So I'm going to set the colors as pretty similar, but then I'm going to make one of them really dark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in my favorite font, Pixel, type in easy. Make it nice and black. Move this around. I'm going to move that as well. Make sure everything's nicely centered. And I'm going to be having maybe 4 or 5 difficulty levels, so I don't want this to be too big. Alright, so let's name this costume Easy, and then let's duplicate it, change these colors, and leave pretty much everything else the same, like the same size. You can change the text to medium. Let's make hard. Yeah, that looks good. And then we have impossible. Okay. So now we have ourselves 4 different difficulty levels. Awesome. Now make sure that they're all named: easy, medium, hard, impossible. Name them whatever they're called. We're going to make sure that this sprite is named. We're going to call this difficulty buttons. Or we could even call this game mode. I like game mode. Alright, let's call this game mode. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to we're going to put some code into this. So we're going to go to events. We're going to drag out when green flag clicked. We're going to hide this sprite because we're going to make a bunch of we're going to make a bunch of clones of it underneath. So we're going to go to looks, get out hide. We're going to switch costume to easy. We're going to figure out where we want our starting position for these different game modes to be. So let's go to the dark blue category, bring out a go to x equals 0, so it's nice in the center of the screen in terms of left and right, and let's say y equals 50, so that's a bit above the center in terms of up and down. Let's go to control and pull out a repeat. Now we've got 4 costumes, so if you've got more than 4, then just change this, but I'm going to do this 4 times. We're going to create clone of myself. We're going to go next costume, and then let's change y by -50, moving down each time. Well, all we need to do is show our clones when we make them. So let's go to control and pull out when I start as clone, go to looks and pull out a show. And let's test this. Okay, we've got ourselves an easy, medium, hard, and impossible. So you can change some of these numbers. You can change the size of your actual buttons if you like, depending on how many different game modes or difficulty modes you want. Okay, so now we need to put some code in to change some of our variables and start the game once we click on one of these options. So let's go to events and pull out when this sprite clicked. Let's get out an if then. So let's go to looks. In fact, first let's go to operators, the green category, and pull out a equals operator. And let's go to looks and pull out a costume number. Let's look down towards the bottom. Can you see we've got this rounded costume number variable here? Pull that out and put it into the first socket of our equals operator. Let's say if costume number equals 1, and then let's set some variables. So let's go to variables and let's pull out set card. Let's pull out for set variable. And then let's change these. So we want to set the card columns. Let's click here and make sure that the second one is card rows. We want to change the number of lives we have, and we want to change the number of suits we have. Okay, so for an easy game, let's say that we've got 6 columns, 4 rows, 15 lives, and 4 suits. That's kind of not too dissimilar to how we started. Okay, so now all we need to do is right click on this if here, duplicate, and then change these numbers. So now we're talking about costume number 2. So now we're talking about the medium, okay? So let's up the difficulty somewhat. Let's change the number of suits to 5. Let's make the number of lives go down to 14. Yeah, that might be enough. So you can, of course, experiment with difficulty. So I'm going to set out our hard difficulty as being 7 columns, and let's say 6 suits and 13 lives. And then I'll make the impossible difficulty 8 columns, 5 rows, 12 lives, and let's say 9 suits. The way that my suits work, I've actually got 8, 9, and 10, my last 3 suits, as all 3 eggs. So that'll make things kind of interesting. So you can, of course, change these numbers, change the number of columns, rows, whatever you like. Have a bit of a test of your game to get the difficulty just where you want it to be for each of these modes. Okay? All right, now what we need to do is we need to change the code in some of our other sprites because they're actually going to start doing, they're going to do things like create your life hearts and create your cards. And we actually need it to not do that. We need it to wait until the player has selected a difficulty. Sorry, Kevin, gotta go down. Okay. So now, what we need to do is we need to create a new broadcast. So at the very bottom of your when this sprite clicked code, we need to pull out a broadcast. So we need to go to events, the yellow category, pull out a broadcast, click on the name of the broadcast and we're going to make a new message, and this is called Game Start. Okay, broadcast game start. So the first thing that we need to have is we need these difficulty options to disappear when the game starts. So let's pull out a when I receive game start, and that's from events. Then go to control and pull out a delete this clone. So when I receive game start, delete this clone. So if we start the game now, when we select a difficulty, all of our options disappear. That's good. Okay, so now we need to go to our card sprite and have a look at when green flag clicked. So you should have a bunch of stuff here that sets rows and columns and suits. What we're going to do is we're going to set so at the beginning of the game we're going to set card rows to 0, columns to 0, suits to 0. Just to make sure that it's a blank, all those variables are blank, so that when we select our game mode, that's when we start the game. So look for where we've got calculate measurements. Drag that off. So now you should have calculate measurements, create cards, create list, and set player control to yes. So that is going to actually make the game begin. Once we start calculating the measurements, creating the cards, creating the list, we need to know how many rows we have before we calculate our measurements. So we need to make sure that it only does this stuff once the game has started and we've set all of our rows and such. So we just need to now go to events and pull out a when I receive and pop it on top of our calculate measurements. And it needs to be when I receive game start. That's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now we need to go to hearts and we need to do something similar. If you zoom in on where you've got when green flag clicked, we should have repeat lives. Do a bunch of stuff, pull down that repeat and put on top of it a when I receive game start, because we don't want our heart meter to start making lives until we know how many lives we're meant to have. Okay. Now we need to go to our game over screen, and we've got our wait until, we've got our wait 1 second, and then do a bunch of, wait until our card counter has gone down to 0 or lives have gone down to 0 to figure out if you've lost the game or won the game. Well, all this stuff will be, we don't want this to run because when we start the game, we have 0 cards and 0 lives. And so then it'll be like, you win or you lose. So pull this whole wait 1 second thing down. And again, we need to, right on top of it, pull out a when I receive game start. Okay, that all seems pretty good. So now what we're going to do is hit go, and when we select easy, there we go. Got ourselves an easy game. And if we try impossible, we have ourselves a much harder game. Excellent. All right, so look, that's the, and you can see we've got so many fewer lives. But let's do one last nice thing. This looks a little bit plain, and you can see I've left us a little bit of space at the top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put in some code into our game over text. I'm going to put in some code that just makes a little choose your difficulty appear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to game over text, the sprite, and we're going to go to costumes in the top left corner, and we're going to paint a new costume, and we're going to call this start, and I'm going to basically make white text, that says choose, oh, is it set to pixel? Yeah, choose your difficulty. I can't see this. Huh, there we go. Choose your difficulty. Cool, make sure that's nice and white. Make this nice and big, but not too big. Make it nice and centered. All right, that looks good. We've got choose your difficulty. Then once we've made that sprite, go to code, and we should have when green flag clicked. We're going to pull this code down, get this go to X and Y 0. We want to duplicate this. We want to put 1 underneath when I receive you lose. We want to get the other one and put it underneath when I receive you win. So the go to X and Y, X0, Y0 is going to send the sprite to the middle of the screen for the you lose or you win animation. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to motion. We're going to get out go to X equals 0 and Y equals 100. We're going to put our set size to 100% underneath there. Let's get rid of this hide for now. We're going to make this choose your difficulty appear, and can you see how it looks like this? This is what we want it to do. We're going to make it do the you lose pulsing animation like that, and we need it to be up here on the screen. So we've already got our go to X equals 0, Y equals 100. So that's what it will look like. I'm pretty happy with that. We can make it a little bit higher than that if we wanted. Shall we say 110? Okay, so now we need to get the you lose animation, which is what's inside of our forever. So just where we've got our forever loop underneath our when I receive you lose, that first repeat 5, right click on it and duplicate it, and now this whole thing is a nice little pulsating animation where it's getting bigger and smaller. So now what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're pointing in the right direction. So let's pull out a point in direction 90, put that underneath our set size to 100% in our when green flag clicked. Let's go to the looks and make sure that we're in the right costume. Let's pull out switch costume to start. Let's do just a little bit of a weight. Let's go to control and pull out a weight, and let's say 0.1 seconds, because we're going to have this animation not happen forever. We're going to make this animation happen until the game starts. So a way of doing that is we are going to check for when the number of suits has been chosen. So we're going to, so we could, if you wanted, you could just put a forever in, and this should roughly work, but then this animation might be taking up some memory in the background, some processing power in the background needlessly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a repeat until instead, put that underneath our wait 0.1 seconds, get our whole animation and put it inside our repeat until. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to operators. I'm going to pull out a not and then an equals, put it inside the not. So we've got repeat until not, and then we'll choose, it doesn't matter too much, but we'll choose number of suits is not 0. So repeat until our number of suits is not equals to 0. Because remember, at the beginning of the game, we set our number of suits to 0. And so now it's going to continue this animation until the number of suits has been chosen, and from easy, medium, hard, impossible, whatever game modes you decided to have. So you could just use it forever here if you wanted, but it'll make your game run maybe a bit smoother. I'm not sure if Scratch will still be doing that animation code or not. It might not make too much of a difference, but let's be efficient where we can. So let's go to Control, Events, sorry, the yellow category, Events, and pull out When I Receive, and then select Game Start. Go to Looks, the purple category, because we need to hide When I Receive. We need to hide this Choose Your Difficulty text when I receive Game Start. Okay, so there's all of our code. Let's test it and see if it works. So we hit the green button and we have our choose your difficulty, easy, medium, hard, impossible. Let's choose easy. And there we have it. That's good. If we start again, oh, interesting. So what's causing that? Of course, we don't have a show in our game over text. So when it's hidden, if we start, it's not showing again. So let's look for when green flag clicked, get out a show, and put it underneath when green flag clicked in our game over text sprite. So make sure it goes right there. And now, there we go. That's better. Impossible. Excellent. So let me know how you go. Let me know what difficulties you choose. Obviously, for good game design, what you want is you want difficulty that's challenging but still theoretically possible. So let me know what you think about the difficulties that I've chosen. Let me know if you've chosen different numbers. And maybe next week we'll do something kind of a little fun, because what we've chosen to do is we've chosen to make these 4 modes as just slight variations on the same kind of suits. Next week, what I might show you is that these could be 4 different themed levels instead of just easy, medium, hard, impossible. So have a bit of a play with this, have some fun with it. If you need help with your project, I've been having a lot of people leaving YouTube comments asking for help with their Scratch projects. I can't really help you unless you let me know what your Scratch name is and what your problem is. So you can describe your problem to me, say specifically what's not working, but I can't really guess what the problem is unless you say, this is my Scratch name. So I don't think YouTube comments will let you link your Scratch project, but if you tell me your Scratch name and make sure that your project is shared, make sure that you've clicked this share button right here on your Scratch project where I'm wiggling my mouse right now. That way I can check out your Scratch project and have a look, and I can see if I can see what the problem is, and then I'll give you some help with how you can fix it. Obviously, if like everything's wrong, I can't really help you with everything, but if there's one particular problem that I can help you fix, I will do that. So as always, subscribe to see the next episode. Aside from that, stay awesome, be cool to each other, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time, ninjas.